Hi, this is Rennie Pilgrem and you're watching DJsounds.com. The next thing coming out for me, I've been doing a series of more funk influenced stuff, a series called Street Legal, and I've got Street Legal Volume 3 coming out in March, and really that's kind of where my head's at. It's like a double EP worth of music that ranges from downbeat stuff to really banging stuff, but with a sort of funk overtone going through it. And I've also got this soundtrack for the movie with Fix that will be coming out after that as well. And other than that, really just concentrating on putting out a lot of music this year, a lot of dance stuff, probably a lot of new jungle actually, because I'm getting pretty into that. One of the things that made my name was the NuSkool Breaks scene, which was a term that we came up with to call it was a way of describing the music we were playing at Friction, which was a night with myself, Adam Freeland, Tayo and Ian Williams, and it was very influenced by drum and bass, but at a much slower speed, like 130 BPM, and it was a reaction also against big beat, which had become very cheesy. So it was a kind of new term to describe quite a futuristic music that was the missing link really between big beat and big beat and drum and bass. There's a new strain of breaks which is being called new jungle, which is the same speed as dubstep, so it's about 140 BPM, so that it's people can switch, because a lot of breakbeat people are playing dubstep as well, so it's kind of the missing link really between dubstep, breakbeat and drum and bass. Started TCR about 17 years ago when basically when the rave scene, it was before jungle had started and when the speed of rave music became a bit too much to swallow for me, and I went back to basics and started a label that was slightly more what should I say, a more traditional speed for dance music, which was so TCR was originally influenced by the American breakbeat scene and electro scene, so it started off really catering to that world, doing stuff mainly for Florida, which was the big place for breakbeat then. I'd say the one thing that I've always stuck with, be it rave, breaks, trip hop, new school, from the funky stuff I'm doing now to the sort of new jungle, is really it's a love of hip hop beats. Hip hop beats started off being funk beats, and hip hop beats are obviously responsible for jungle, responsible for drum and bass and breaks. So I've always pretty much, I'd say 99% of the tracks I've ever done would have a breakbeat in them, just because I prefer the stuff that's got a bit of a swing to it, that's been put in by a real drummer basically. So that's something that I'm fairly militant about trying to include in nearly all of my music.
That swing.
Yeah, just the real thing. You know, it's like if you took say James Brown's Funky Drummer, which is a very, very famous drum beat, and basically if you imported it into a music program and analysed it, you'd see that a lot of it's not on the beat and technically would look like it's out of time, and that's the kind of input that a real drummer can do, which a drum programmer is normally not equipped to do in the same way. So it's kind of that certain bit of magic where someone's taking liberties with the timing, really. I was a very early adopter of the CDJ, which I found as a great step up from vinyl, and then over the last few years I veered towards using my laptop, using Ableton and DJing from the laptop, which creatively was great, but visually and as a logistical thing didn't really work. Like I have a laptop here that kind of fell off somewhere in a club in Orlando and got totally ruined. So the new stuff that Pioneer brought out, both the mixer and the new CDJ, I think is pretty much exactly what someone like me has been waiting for, because it's you can really access a lot of your music and do creative things with loops and stuff, but without the danger of carting your laptop around a club, which I think it's still going to be many years before that is an acceptable risk, really. So I think creatively it's really raised the bar a lot, and definitely something that I'm adopting. For the last 15 years I've mainly been producing dance tracks and releasing them on my label. Now I've expanded it to doing stuff more aimed at TV and film. I've just completed my first film soundtrack for a film called The Fix, which is like an underground British film. I think that the visual side of things, whether it be stuff like painting, which I'm into now as well, but also just really marrying up images to music, is very much one of the ways that things are going, whether it's doing your own videos to go with your releases, or doing stuff to picture and stuff. That kind of strain of just being a pure artist doing one thing is not something I do anymore. So I might be doing sort of slightly ambient weird stuff for a film one day, and the next day doing a kind of banging 140 BPM track. So it's keeps life interesting, and you've got to slightly change the way you're doing because of the whole digital world and sales expectations changing from the normal way. So you've got to look at new avenues for your music, really. I think London's still got to be the epicenter of music, or definitely electronic music. I think obviously in the last few years Berlin, Germany's come to the fore, and France and etc., and obviously America for, I suppose, more mainstream stuff. But I think that the UK and London in particular has thrived because you don't really get any help as a musician, and I think you have to be very dedicated to do it, and kind of doing it in spite of things. So it's not like other countries where you would get cheap rent or help with stuff. So if you look at the UK, then you're looking at from dubstep through to drum and bass, through to, there are quite a few genres that are emanating still from these shores. So I still think we are we're the yardstick by which everyone else is measured.